After a quick Google search, I found there's over 4,000 games on Nintendo's highly successful handheld console. Now, by no means am I saying all of them are good, and all honestly, not even half are probably good. But for some reason or another, some of the best titles on Nintendo Switch happen to be indie games. In today's video, I'll go over what I think is the best 9 indie games on Nintendo Switch. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Robot Joe and I'll be your host. Let's get started. So I'll be the first to admit, I'm kinda late to the party on indie games. For some reason or another, my favorite games happen to be usually AAA games or games with big budgets, like Zelda, Mario, stuff like that. Getting a Switch actually helped me get into indie games. Also, I want to say, these games will be in no particular order. Let's get right into it. What can I say about Hollow Knight? This game is more of an experience than a game. Created by Team Cherry, it's such an amazing feeling as you explore and interact with the world below you. I have a video on my channel about this already, but I'll say again. After playing this game, it became one of my top 10 games of all time. I didn't even think I would like a game like this. It took over and became so addicting to fight your way through these creepy and often unsettling areas. The music creates an atmospheric feeling, and the game just got better and better as I played through. Never a dull moment. I would 10 out of 10 recommend this game to anyone. Hades was a game that took the world by storm. It's actually the reason why I held off for playing Hades for so long, because I kinda hate when people force games on you. This was a big mistake. I finally played the game recently, and I immediately felt dumb. This game is phenomenal. Made by a company called Supergiant Games. You play as the son of Hades, on a hopeless quest to fight through hell, escape the underworld, and reunite with your mother on Earth. By design, you're gonna die a lot playing this game. Each time you die, you will carry over some of your strength, loot, and experience to the next run, which keeps the game fresh. The story and voice acting is awesome, and it just adds to the charm of the game. Another game that came out of nowhere and took the world by storm is Cuphead. What a breath of fresh air it was when it came out. The old style of graphics immediately caught your attention, and the gameplay is what kept you around. The game was created by brothers Chad and Jared Moldenhauer. It's a run and gun shooter in which you play as a guy with a cut for a head. You've accidentally sold your soul to the devil, and you have to work for him as a bounty hunter if you want to get it back. The game is different in the sense that most of the game is actually boss fights. As you progress, you can upgrade your weapons and gain more health, and you'll probably need it. Let's switch up the tempo a bit. Stardew Valley is a game you could in theory play forever. On the surface level, it's just a farming sim, but it almost feels criminal describing it that way. The game was amazingly created by one person coined Concerned Ape. In this game, you do your standard farming simulation stuff like growing crops and tending to your home. But you can also explore caves and battle monsters, go around the city and mingle with townspeople and build relationships, uncover hidden mysteries, and live throughout the 4 seasons year after year. You can even date and marry several of the characters. Again, I would put this game under the category as more of an experience than anything, and there's a reason the community of people who enjoy Stardew Valley is so massive and ever growing. Curse to Golf is a sports game like no other. Developed by Chuhai Labs, I would call this a sports Metrovania roguelike RPG. I know, it's a lot, but let me explain. You're a guy who's been struck by lightning playing golf. You're sent down to purgatory and you have to golf your way through 18 levels or 18 holes to get back to the surface. Each level or hole is more challenging than the previous. The way you get around is by golfing, and there's tons of different power-up cards to help you get through the course. There's also different things on the course to throw you off, but those same things can be used in your favor. Now here's a caveat. If you lose on any hole at any time, it's back to the beginning. You have to start over. The courses are randomly generated, so if you lose and start over, it's a different course than the first time, so it keeps it fresh. I have a more detailed video on my channel about this game, so go check it out if you're interested. So the next game on this list, people are normally on the fence about. They either love it or they want nothing to do with it. Undertale is a simple yet infectious game. Like many indie games, the graphics are relatively simple, but the gameplay is more than good enough to make up for it. This is an RPG created by Toby Fox, who unbelievably did the soundtrack as well. It sees players take control of a small child who's gotten lost in the underground, a subterranean realm full of monsters. Choices made during the game radically alter the plot, and different endings take place depending on how the player handles battles. The battle system is different and a little bit strange, but in a good way. When entering a battle, you actually don't have to kill anyone. Instead, you can praise and charm your enemies in an attempt to spare them. This is one of those games that has a cult-like following. So the next game is a bit of a success story. Shovel Knight is often on the list of greatest video games of all time, and the crazy thing is this game was completely crowdfunded. In 2013, it was announced with a Kickstarter campaign of $75,000. Within a few weeks, it had hit over $300,000. The game was created by Yacht Club Games. When finally released, the game was met with universal praise. Shovel Knight is a 2D platformer with an 8-bit graphic style. Your primary means of attack is your shovel, but can also be used to dig up treasures. Work your way through the levels and beat bosses, and progress through the world map. Aside from great gameplay, this game brings in the vibes and nostalgia of an old Nintendo game. This game is continually ported to every console, and for good reason. Sometimes it's good to blow off a little steam and cause a little chaos. This next game encapsulates that perfectly. What can I say about entitled Goose Game, except it's a game about a goose. Developed by a company called House, you take control of a mischievous little goose whose sole purpose is to wreak havoc upon your community. Yeah, that's really about it. Don't get me wrong though, It's actually really fun. Why does this little goose do that? Well, have you ever met a goose? That's what they do. That's their whole MO. There isn't much mechanical depth to the game, but it doesn't need much. The joy of it all comes from finding the funniest way to mess up an idyllic day. Route 96 is unlike anything I've ever played. Created by a company called DigiXArt. You assume the role of several teenagers fleeing a country due to political unrest, and you're trying to cross the border. Each time the player character succeeds or fails at crossing the border, they assume control of a new teenager attempting to cross the border. Each crossing attempt advances the overarching story arc of the campaign, culminating in a final set on election day. Decisions made by the players during previous attempts are reflected and referenced during each new attempt. You really feel like you're walking in the shoes of whoever you control at the time. Everybody who plays this game will have a different experience. So this was my list, and not everybody's going to agree with that, but that's the beauty of these lists. In the comments below, let me know what you think about my list, and let me know what your favorite indie games on the Switch are. I'd love to hear it. My name is Robot Joe. Thank you for joining me on my channel. It truly means the world that you would take a second out of your day to watch these videos. If you enjoy gaming news, gaming stories, and Nintendo Switch content, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Peace out.